Hello everyone. I'm sorry that I look tired. It's just that I've gotten up after a rest and I didn't really sleep properly. But resting's good. Um, Today is the 5th anniversary of our mother's passing, and as fortune should have it, my poem about the experience of those years, caring for her, being with her, and then when she parted, exactly on this day, has appeared in CORDITE. It's called Unbroken. So it's one of several poems that live within inside the relations of care that are not about looking on and from a distance, but it still is not sentimental as a poem. It covers the range of experiences, and that includes the denial of family knowledge about one's loved one and what's best for their care. So while this is a day to contemplate 5 years on, which the poem actually does do, and I wrote it in late August, writing a flurry of poems, not all about mum, but this was one that really stood out, and I sent it off, and it got accepted in Precarious, the new issue of CORDITE, which has appeared today. I will put a link below about this poem rather than read it. I'll give you the benefit of a read in your own time, but I'd just like to say the following. I obviously still miss my mum, and I inherit a lot from her. I even look quite a bit like her, although not only her in the family. The experience of going through her journey with her, with all its ups and downs, where she was always still there and not just some departing patient. It was all about connection, right? It still massively impacted on myself and my sisters, and for me it reactivated a lot of things. I found it really hard to deal with my emotions at the time because I felt like I needed to be there for her and not expose her to any of my anxiety, to get the best outcomes for her, and so I was very restrained. I reserved my emociones encontradas, mixed emotions, for channeling them into demanding the best care for her. And I completely turned over my life to be there, even before going in the last 6 months of her life with a special border pass to uproot myself and live over in Perth. I was constantly on planes before that year, and I was constantly with her. I wasn't spending 15 minutes, I was spending 9-hour days, as was my sister Kim. So I remember all those years. I remember the heartache that I couldn't express. I remember the shock. I remember the joy. I remember the connection. I remember watching Bohemian Rhapsody with her. I remember watching Pillow Talk, as well as, what's that French film called? I'll remember. Anyway, Mum was quite capable of following surreal films, even though some of the other ladies at Yalambee couldn't work out what was going on. And she, before those last 6 months, would stay up with us, particularly with me, because Kim had to do her hours at work and my hours of work were remote, and in a almost 3 hour time difference. And so the working day in Sydney would be over and I'd be able to be at Yalambee. A lot has changed in those 5 years. I feel that her passing, but also all the weight of the labour, shattered me in atoms. Yeah, and I reassembled and have been reassembling since as my genuine self. And even though it's not like her passing resulted in me being trans, it is still a significant I guess, threshold or passing point. My mum would have completely accepted me as trans as a woman. I come from a context of having 4 sisters in a female-led household. It's not a surprise. But I was also always different and not your typical, or not even really a boy, although boy with an I is a different thing. So I owe her so much. I owe her my life, but also this coming back to life. And going to India has also been very instrumental in that, which is kind of a wish that I fulfilled, given her so many disclosures about family life and her experiences as a young woman, that I will never forget, and her philosophies about life and reincarnation, the conversations that we'd have about the Vedanta, which of course didn't just happen within the context of her different illnesses and recovery, but they were really pristine moments, epiphanies. Such an example to follow, even though my mum lived with a lot of trauma, and that trauma is also intergenerational. So I observe and respect and honour all of those realities and all of her lessons. Mum often said, "Oh, this is school," and how right was she? And I'm still learning. Thanks, Mum.